Okay, and we're live. You ready to get started?
Yes, let's go.
Hi, Asawari Moon. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited for our conversation today. So let's just quickly get started with a few quick introductions, and then we'll dive right into a very interesting conversation that we have planned for you today. Um, so today, first of all, my name is Donna, and I'm today representing the X Future. I am a product manager and part of the founding team of the X Future. And we are gathered here for an event for a Lighthouse series, which essentially is our event series hosting corporate innovation leaders who are willing and excited to share their knowledge and experience with us. And today we're meeting with Asawari Moon, who's been in innovation leadership for many years in a company called InBev. InBev is a beverage leading brand, global leading brand. And I think we will let Asawari tell us a little bit more about what she's doing and the company. So Aswari, as you know, as we're kind of like slowly diving in, if you could, in a few words, tell us and everyone that doesn't really know InBev, what does InBev do, and the company and the segment and where they are.
Okay, cool. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. So starting with now that you have asked about AB InBev. So AB InBev, for those who don't know, it's world largest beer company. We brew almost more than 600 beer brands. We have a presence in almost more than 150 countries. Some of you might be aware, I don't know if you are, but have you tried Budweiser, Corona, Stella Artois? So these are some of our global brands, but then we have a lot. We have a lot of them. We have more than 500, like 600 brands that we have, and we have a global presence, right? So that's about AB and Bev. It's what we are. Our dream is more to become a world's largest beer company, and our purpose is to bring people together for a better world. This is what with the agenda, and we have 10 principles that ABI moves with in terms of how everyone relates to that principles. That is more about what ABI is. A little bit about me. So I kind of an I'm as I said, I'm from India, located in Bangalore currently, widely known as the Silicon Valley of India. If I say I'm an engineering graduate from IIT Kharagpur. It is also one of the prestigious institute in India. You also have a kind of a Netflix documentary on my college, if anyone is interested to look at it. Then, as an engineering graduate, I started my journey being a part of an field engineer in a global company, oil and gas company, which is Lumberjay. Work there is an adventurous start to my work life. Worked there for 2 years or so, but then it was a tough one for women as such, and that's where I moved out from oil and gas. Then worked with a startup. Interesting time working with a startup for 1.5 years. So I know how startup works, what it takes. So being there, but then I decided to do my learning journey, take my learning journey ahead, and that is where I did my MBA, and post that this is where I landed at ABI, right? And that's what I told about ABI as such. So I'm mostly being in ABI since last 4.5 years now, but mostly a part of the analytics functions and the innovation function. I started with analytics, moved to innovation. Now I'm back in analytics, but somewhere everything is related to innovation and how we partner with startups and academia to do some of our things and how it's related. That's a little bit about ABI and me.
Okay, I think if you don't mind, let's dive in a little bit more into it. So you started as an engineer, you had some corporate experience, some startup experience, and then you kickstarted your journey with ABI.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, how it started, what was your role, and how you kind of found yourself in a very central position that oversees and manages innovation.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. So I started more being with ABI, being a part of the analytics function. The initial idea was that I would be more like an get a stream of where I would become an analytics expert in my future. But then what I realized was somewhere I have a passion for design. I have a passion for product development, and that led me to start some initiatives around how we can consume analytics work better. So we are definitely doing a lot of work in terms of building the algorithms, building the solutions for the business problems, but it was also about how to really make it consumable for business. And that is where I started building a team, doing more of business intelligence on top of the analytics algorithm that we were doing. And then also building some of the web applications which people can really use as an optimizers or stimulators. And then slowly moved into the direction where we started exploring some of the new tech like Alexa voice assistant or NLP for that matter, and see how we can use more of a new tech to consume the data, right? You have Series, you have voice assistants now everywhere, but it's more from a business perspective and business context, how we can use them. That's where I got moved from analytics function. I moved with my team into innovation domain. We started with more of an internal R&D. We did many projects as an internal with the internal team exploring these technologies. But it was so sooner that we realized that we need to partner with startups, right? We can't innovate everything on our own, and it's basically to accelerate ourselves, not just to accelerate them. We need to partner with startups, and that is where we also got an individual from outside who had an ecosystem connects, and we formed a team to then partner with startups. We did some amazing POCs, 4, 5 POCs there as an initial journey of that team, and then that is where I moved into innovation. Pretty good connect in Indian ecosystem in innovation right now. And then we as we delivered some of this project, we realized many things in terms of how innovation should be done, what processes need to be changed internally, and think some of the experience got us learning. We also got corporate other innovation partners to help us understand. But then I got pregnant. I was on my maternity break, and then when I came back, there was an opportunity within analytics. And now with analytics transformation, there is still a huge opportunity how we can bring innovation from an analytics perspective. And now I'm more into that aspect, more focused into AI, ML, and analytics side of it. But still a lot of portion that I know that innovation and partnership from a startup perspective has to make sense.
So it sounds to me like there was some very natural evolution there, and you got to have a front row seat to kind of see how a corporate adapts an innovation mindset. So it started with an analytics department, and then you got to lead a team that was kind of like in the early days of understanding the need for innovation. So it had more of a R&D essence to it. But then naturally it evolved into an innovation department. And today ABI has a full-blown innovation unit forefronting that part, right? And so that team still exists, and you're in a slightly different position, still very directly associated with innovation, right?
Yes. Just that one thing that ABI has been doing innovation. We have a innovation hub called Beer Garage already, which is a global entity. But then from an India perspective and focusing on, we have a capability centers and the growth analytics centers in India. So from an India perspective, we didn't have a lot of presence. We had a presence already in US and Israel, but that is where the team started, not like a mandate, but it started more like an experimentation team. And we were also trying to prove that Indian ecosystem makes sense to be explored. And that is where it started. Now, the good thing about this team is, though I'm outside the team now, the team has become a part of our central unit, which is Beer Garage. It's become a part of the global innovation team now, and there are amazing leaders who are leading that partnerships and leading the accelerator programs. And we're doing a lot more now in fintech space and consumer space as well to get the startups involved what ABI is doing.
Understood. Okay, so I think let's move on to a slightly different topic and slightly different question. I think I would like to hear from you if there are any specific challenges that you're dealing with that you're facing in your role that you think are interesting enough and an experience that you think you want to share with our listeners today.
Okay. I think since my journey has been a little different earlier from an innovation perspective, the challenges were more in terms of how to scale innovations once the POC ended, or how to have that right criteria of evaluating a startup and then defining that what needs an investment there to scale that. So I think that was a challenging experience, and also in terms of how procurement has to be defined for startups, right? Which is not generally how we work with vendors. So these are some of the challenges I saw when I was a part of innovation team. And I think we made a good progress of understanding, working with our procurement team as well, how to do that. And also in terms of making our business understand that, guys, working with startup and working with any other vendor is a little different. They have certain cash flow issues. The way they work is a little different. So convincing the business how to work with the startup was an important phase there. Now that I have moved into analytics, now I think there is another challenge to my current role, which I see it's very critical. It's about, I'm a part of the strategy and transformation team in analytics at present. Getting the strategies to execution and facilitating that, it is and at the scale that we are looking at, right? At the scale and with the discipline that you want to achieve, that is a very challenging as well as exciting phase, right? You can do projects and things in silos, but then they are not sustainable, they are not scalable. And we as a global company, we are looking at a more approach where we are not taking things and not investing without putting our minds there. So we have a clear direction or a clear understanding of where we should invest, what benefit we are going to make out of what we are investing in. So that approach, and then leading that with a discipline, I think that's quite of a challenge and a change management now as well for the company to really focus in that way. And then we get to a stage where we're looking at things not like a projects, but at the product that is scaling from zones to zones, product that are more plug and play that we can create either internally, building internal capabilities, or with the partners from outside. But that's a vision with which the analytics transformation is something we are trying to drive.
Do you feel like the company that you're part of is putting the right amount of emphasis on the need for innovation? Do you ever find yourself having to convince someone that a certain solution is needed to a problem, and a certain amount of investment needs to happen in order for that to happen? Yeah,
I would say luckily in ABI, everyone understands the need of innovation. There is a need of innovation. There is a necessity, and we will not move ahead if we don't. And we invest a lot in innovation. All the accelerator programs that we have, even within analytics, the way we are investing right now, I don't see there is a need to explain to everyone on the need of innovation. Everyone in ABI, we believe everyone is an owner, and I think from that perspective, everyone is putting their all efforts to lead this transformational journey. The only thing that I feel it sometimes is, you need to innovate, you need to transform, but when you're trying to do things at scale, you need that guidance, you need that clear understanding and a clarity on how you want to do this. Make versus buy. Should I do this internally? Should I partner with startup? In which cases I should do, and what's right? So that is something I think it's still a matter of journey for, I think, every companies, including ABI, to understand where we should partner and where we should build things internally. Because at times when you want to reach scale, you also do not know if you should partner with startups or not. But at time you also know that it's not something you can do internally, and it's better to bet on a startup to work with you and then do that. So I think that piece is there. Need is definitely there, and everyone understands the need. But how to do that is something which is still very, very fluid. Not everyone does it in the same way, and not everyone understands, in my view, that what's the best way of doing this.
Okay, yeah, that I think that's something that we would love to learn from you, if if you have some insight that you're willing to share. And I totally get it. It's a journey, it's a learning curve, and I think that a lot of corporates right now are in the position of understanding to one degree or another that more of a method needs to be built around it. And so from your experience, if you want to share, how do you think that corporates need to manage it on their end? And also, we have the startups on the other side. So any insight and any tips that you have for the startups that are working with a large corporate?
Okay, great. So I think, maybe I can think of few things. I think the partnership is on both sides, right? So everything, if you need to make it a success, there should be equal skin in the game from both the parties. From a corporate perspective, I think many a times we are not maybe at times clear about our problem itself and what are we trying to accomplish. I think getting that clarity is important for a startup, for a corporate, for a corporate to put that, what am I trying to accomplish, right? And not taking a siloed approach of working with a startup. You should have if you're trying to transform something, I think it's always better to look at an holistic way, how you want to work with a startup. There are sometimes you have a kind of an thing to transform, then maybe one startup cannot solve it, right? And that is where you also need to understand how you want to really do that, and what you should be expecting from a particular startup or not, and what support that you should have from your end to make that startup successful and set for success, right? If you do not have a good PMO at a corporate side, you will not achieve the results that you could with the startup, right? So startups need guidance in terms of navigating through corporate. They need guidance in terms of getting the right data, guidance in terms of what's the right problem to solve and where to go. I think if you really want to make success with the startup, that clarity and that support system, and even the buy-in with the business to get the right investment, is something that corporate really needs to think of when they are working, so that your POC is successful. You do not land it to the stage where it's not going anywhere. From a startup perspective, which I have been in my experience, I have seen some of the startups very focused, very clear about what they want to achieve, which area they are they in B2B or B2C. Sometimes even startups get trying to switch between both of them as well, right? So at times it becomes I can understand. My husband has his own startup, so I can understand that it's difficult. You have a cash flow crunch. You at times take a decisions of about, maybe I should do this as well, maybe I should do that as well, maybe I should partner with so many corporate just so that I can get a revenue or something. But I think being a focused approach can be a long-term way to go for startups, so that they can build their product in the right direction, get the right guidance from the corporates that they are working with, having a clear mindset on what they are trying to achieve from the partnership that they are having with that particular corporate, asking the right things, putting a strategic thoughts or thought leadership when the communication is happening, and not just doing what is being asked, right? I think that is something that corporate should be doing. The startups should be doing. And also in terms of your payment strategies, how you are asking the corporates, help them understand that how do you work, how do you need your money and things. Sometimes it might be like for ABI, I can tell you we have a general payment policy which is 120 days, right? So if the startups work in a different manner, I think that is where also they can bring in the visibilities on how the things operate, and they are agile, right? Now that from ABI perspective, ABI is also moving into agile and agile ways of working. So anyways, the startups are agile, they are moving to move fast, and corporates know that. It's just about how even the startups are able to put the right skin in the game, being cognizant about what are they trying to achieve, and not just getting too many things on their plate so that they arrive at nothing. That would be my some tips to the startups when they work with the corporates.
In general, I definitely hear that there is a lot of different factors that need to work well in order for the entire agenda to be successful in the innovation process. I want to hear from you, given that you're in this very, very interesting intersection between analytics and innovation and digital transformation. I want to hear from you, how does the analytics play a role in the digital transformation?
Okay, yeah. So, see, analytics and data is anyways has to be a backbone of any transformation, right? So if you are trying to get to the right suggest orders for your, let's say, customers, right, recommendations for your customers, you're building a product which is personalized, unless and until you have a data which you can work with, a data which is foundationally correct, and an analytics and the algorithms that you can build which is really scalable and sustainable, your digital transformation journey will not be that robust, right? And that's why analytics, in any sense, if you see, it's all about, if digital transformation, it's predominantly how it's the entire backbone is based on data and analytics, right? So that is where analytics anyways plays a very critical role in digital transformation. Digital transformation also have many faces, right? Digital transformation in many space. You have a financial transformation, you have non-commercial transformations as well. Like, we are doing some of the projects which are not in the commercial space. We are doing analytics for people, right? Where we are trying to tell which like the performance analytics or the turnover analytics, and trying to take a right decision in terms of what should be done to reduce our iteration, maybe, or evaluate the performance of the people and things. So that's one side of it. But from a digitally getting into all that digital space, unless and until you have the right analytics and right data at your hand, I think it's not possible to drive a digital transformation.
I have to say I have like 5 different follow-up questions, but we are running out of time, and I still have 2 more questions that I wanted to ask you. So I'm gonna quickly switch topics here and ask you if there's any trend in innovation, in the future factory and industry 4.0, in digital transformation that you are currently able to identify and share with us.
Okay, right now I think there are multiple trends from a multiple perspective for sure. I think people are looking at supply chain of the future. There are many ML and AI trends there. People are using blockchains for a supply chain perspective. From a sustainability perspective, we are also trying to look at circular economy, and a lot of things going on from sustainability innovations perspective as well. I would say that every company is trying to achieve that. More from now that I'm part of analytics organization, I think it's better for me to tell from that perspective what trends that I'm looking at least inside the company. So right now, I think from an analytics domain, we are trying to move and get into a phase where we are not doing traditional analytics, but we are really leveraging AI and ML, where it is more like democratized AI, where everything that we build is scalable, it's sustainable. So we are also trying to build up more from an approach of having guilds in software engineering or guilds in ML engineering and things, and then also having that way where we create a product which is really something you can just take to another zone, and then make some customization and make it work, right? So I'm seeing that as a trend from an analytics functions perspective, that now people are trying to move from that initial stage where people were doing more like project by project based analytics to more of a sustainable and a scalable analytics. So that is something even many of the startups can play a role, where they have many of this data cleaning, or let's say data based insights. Many of the startups can also help the corporates like us to come up with the solutions which are scalable and can become a plug and play in terms of how we operate and scale these solutions across. uh, so that I would say is the trend that I'm definitely looking at. But yeah, in terms of a broader scope, there are many things. You have now that we are going through a phase of COVID, and people are now getting to a new normal. I think many of the startups have emerged to solve the problem of that distance working. We also have startups which help us in the employee engagements, right? And I think now people are also trying to figure out how virtually people could be more connected. So I'm seeing a lot of trend in terms of new solutions coming up, and how to make the best virtual connects, engage the team virtually, now that we are seeing more and more people are going to work virtually, right? So that is more from a workplace trends perspective. I think many of the solutions that are coming, and we are also exploring, right, internally when we are trying to run a big organization. It's not just about the commercial side of it, it's also about our people side, that in terms of how we want to connect and leverage these trends and technologies as well.
I understand. So also on the process and workflow side, as well as work remotely and control things from not necessarily when you're in the factory, but also from remote. I also heard it from our innovators in our Future Friday series. Okay, so now I have a final question for you, and it's actually a surprise question.
Okay.
It's more on a personal level, to learn more about you as a person, and it's kind of like shoot whatever comes to mind as you're asked a question. So it's a pretty simple one. I wanted to ask what inspires you on a professional level, if it's a book or if it's a podcast or if it's a mentor or if it's all of the above. Would love to hear a little bit about what drives you and what gives you the knowledge that you need.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Okay, so in terms of inspiration, one, I definitely tried. The first manager that I joined, like I had after I joined AB InBev, I think I had a. Sometimes you say it's sometimes your mentors and managers drive how you look at your career, how you look at the things, right? So I think that individual, his name was Ravinder Sharma. He has moved out of the company now. He has started something of his own. I think from a inspiration perspective, in terms of doing things in a bold manner, uh, also a kind of an urge that being a woman, you have to also stand out, be vocal, and uh, being a meritocratic organization, you have to prove your merit to really tell that this is what you want to bring on the plate, and then drive that change, right? So I think from that perspective, he inspired me a lot. What I did at ABI, take the challenges, speak out what I think is right or wrong at bigger forums, to bigger people. Like I got an opportunity. I think I would say I was lucky enough also to get an opportunity to present some of my ideas to very senior leadership at times, in terms of how things should be done, and it was accepted as well. So that is something I would take someone internally, which inspired me. From an external perspective, like in terms of how I might take inspiration as such, is I don't know if you are aware of, but there is a freedom fighter or a leader that we had years back, Baba Sahib Ambedkar. So he actually led a lot of change in terms of how Indian society used to work, and he had made a change for a mass group of the society to get them really incorporated and get them a rights that they should be having to lead their life, right? So he inspired me a lot. I always think that how can an individual from a very political point of view, from an educational point of view, make such a can bring such a big change, right? When it's not easy to convince people at your own home, at times convincing people at a scale like India, right, and then putting that as an example to the entire world, I think it's a very very big thing. And at times, whenever I feel that something is not possible and some changes, like many a times you feel, oh no, it's not my responsibility, someone else will make the change at the top and then only I can do something. Sometimes that tells us, no, you can, if you want, you can, right? So I think that is where I inspire at times, and I challenge the status quo in terms of when I feel that I should be challenging the status quo, and I think I play a role in making that change rather than just waiting on my leadership to just drive that change, right? So that is something I feel, and that inspires me at times in the way I approach things.
Thank you for sharing. And I think, it's a good time to wrap up. I'll thank you for me and everyone else that's joining today for clearing some time in your schedule during this special holiday that's happening right now
Yes.
in India. I think Ganesh Chaturthi is, how do you say it exactly?
Ganesh Chaturthi.
Oh yeah, got it right.
Yes.
And you really truly sound like a mover and a shaker to me, so a true inspiration as well. And I hope to see you again in the future and definitely hear more about your success.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me. Just on the last note, I have this for all the startups. ABI is looking for startups and partnership with startups. We have many accelerator programs. There is something called Bud Start, which is also there. There is 100+ accelerator, which is more from a sustainability perspective. So look at that opportunities whenever it comes in terms of and from perspective. I'm sorry, I think my baby is crying. I need to leave now. But yeah, I think that's what, and we are also planning to have analytics conference. So I'm also looking for startups in AI and ML space. So if you have a cutting edge startup working on some interesting challenge, feel free to shoot and ping me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email.
We can definitely collaborate there. I look forward to it.
Okay, great. Take care. Have a good time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Asawari. Have a good holiday.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.